seated, please. Thank you for joining us today. This time I'd like to recognize Commissioner Bailey for the prayer.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Everyone, please help me in welcoming Dr. Ryan Wade, originally a Lee County native from Carthage, Mississippi, a graduate from Carthage High, and pursued his engineering degree from East Central Community College and Mississippi State University, almost a mini me. He went to school with my sister, and he has been worked as a professional engineer for 5 years, but then he sensed a call to the ministry, and he has attained his master's degree and PhD from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and he's pastored in Holmes County and Pearl River County, and currently serves as the community outreach pastor at Crossgates Baptist Church in Brandon. And we want to thank him for joining us today and appreciate you coming and sharing your word.
Y'all join me as we pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day. We are thankful for this great state of Mississippi. And Father, I just want to thank you for the privilege of being able to serve the public. And so I thank you for those who are here today, who come with to preside over this meeting, those who come with requests, those who come seeking decisions, asking that your hand and that your wisdom and that your knowledge would be present here today. Praying that whatever happens today, there could be unity for the common good of all people. And so where there may be differences of opinion, pray there could still, Lord, the common good, what needs to happen would still come forth, Lord. So I pray your peace, I pray your presence. I thank you for this opportunity in this day and ask for your hand. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to get started now with the consent docket agenda, adoption and proposed consent docket for the July 23rd meeting of the commission. Is there any questions?
I move we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Move on to the energy agenda. Discussion and possible action regarding proposed order in docket number 2023 UA 032, Mississippi Power Company petition of Mississippi Power Company for certificate of public convenience and necessity authorizing the acquisition, construction, operation, and maintenance of the utility facilities in the specific area in Hancock County. Mr. Mabry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, on March 22nd, Mississippi Power Company filed a petition for certificate of public convenience and necessity for the acquisition, construction, operation, and maintenance of utility facilities located at Buccaneer State Park in Hancock County. In the past, the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks has owned, operated, and maintained the utility facilities located within the park. However, Wildlife and Fisheries currently lacks the technical expertise to operate these facilities. MPC will be required to conduct various upgrades due to the equipment age and facilities at the park, along with reliability concerns and inability to troubleshoot future outages. MPC expects the upgrades to the facilities and the equipment to cost approximately $1.6 million, resulting in an increase of approximately 2 cents on a typical 1,000 kilowatt hour residential customer's bill. MPC does not anticipate any incremental load from the purchase and upgrade of the facilities, nor does it anticipate any incremental revenues from the purchase or upgrades of the facility. Staff has reviewed the filing, issued data requests, and reviewed the responses. Staff agrees the present and future public convenience and necessity requires the acquisition and upgrades of these facilities. Staff recommends approval.
Is there any questions?
Move we approve as presented.
Just one, as we start the process, we anticipate other potential acquisitions from utilities, whether it's investor-owned or cooperative or other, to help assist the state park system in upgrading facilities.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2023 UA003, Cooperative Energy Joint Petition of Cooperative Energy and Delta Electric Power Association for certificate of public convenience and necessity, authorizing them to acquire, construct, own, and operate electric transmission line, switching station, and substation facilities in Bolivar County in East Winstonville. Mr. Mabry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, on January 9th, Cooperative Energy and Delta Electric Power Association filed a joint petition for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, authorizing them to acquire the necessary rights-of-way for Cooperative to construct, maintain, and operate a 115 kV electric transmission line and switching station in Bolivar County, and for Delta EPA to construct, maintain, and operate a 115 by 13 by 2 kV substation facility in Bolivar County, together with all necessary switches, buses, and related equipment and facilities. The purpose of the transmission line, switching station, and substation facilities is to provide sufficient capacity and improve reliability and quality of service in the Bolivar County area. The substation allows Delta EPA to provide sufficient capacity that will relieve low growth and improve reliability and quality of service to the existing residential, industrial, and agricultural consumers in and around the East Bolivar County area. Cooperative and Delta will each fund their respective portion of the project using a combination of general funds, unsecured short-term lines of credit, and/or long-term borrowing obtained from the private debt capital markets, the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, CoBank, and/or the Rural Utilities Service. Cooperative will pay approximately $770,000 for the L630 115 kV transmission line, as well as approximately $935,000 for the East Winstonville 115 kV switching station. Delta will pay approximately $4 million for the East Winstonville 115 kV substation. The total cost of the project will be approximately $5.7 million. Staff has reviewed the filing, issued data requests, reviewed the responses. Staff agrees that these facilities are needed to provide sufficient capacity, relieve low growth, and improve reliability and quality of service in Bolivar County. Staff recommends approval.
Is there any questions?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2023 UA010, Cooperative Energy petition of Cooperative Energy for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, authorizing them to acquire, construct, own, and operate electrical transmission line facilities in Stone County, Mississippi. Mr. Mabry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, on January 26, Cooperative Energy filed a petition for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, authorizing them to construct, own, and operate a new single-circuit 69 kV transmission line and a new 69 kV three-way gang-operated air brake switch on existing and new right-of-way in Stone County. The purpose of the project is to improve reliability and quality of service to the existing delivery point in the Stillmore area of Stone County. Cooperative will fund the project using a combination of general funds, unsecured short-term lines of credit, and/or long-term borrowing obtained from the private debt capital markets, the National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, CoBank, and/or the Rural Utilities Service. The total cost of the project will be approximately $4 million. Staff has reviewed the filing, issued data request, reviewed the responses. Staff agrees that these facilities are needed to provide sufficient capacity to relieve low growth and improve reliability and quality of service in the area of Stillmore and Stone County. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order, docket number 2023 UA020, Cooperative Energy petition of Cooperative Energy for a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, authorizing them to acquire, construct, own, and operate electrical transmission lines, GOABS, and switching stations facility in Walthall, Lincoln, and Pike Counties, Mississippi, JS Area Reliability Improvement Project. Mr. Mabry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, on February 21st, Cooperative Energy filed a petition for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, authorizing them to acquire, construct, own, and operate a new single-circuit 115 kV transmission line to rebuild 2 existing 115 kV transmission lines, to construct 2 new 115 kV three-way gang-operated air brake switches, and to construct 2 115 kV switching stations on existing and new right-of-way in Walthall, Lincoln, and Pike counties. purpose of these electric transmission line and switching station facilities are needed to provide sufficient capacity, relieve load growth, and improve reliability and quality of service in the area of Little Creek and JS, as well as surrounding portions of Walthall, Lincoln, and Pike counties, by providing loop transmission service with circuit breakers to provide system protection for the region. Cooperative will fund the project using a combination of general funds, unsecured short-term lines of credit, and/or long-term borrowing obtained from the private debt capital markets. The National Rural Utilities Cooperative Finance Corporation, CoBank, and the Rural Utilities Service. The total cost of the project will be approximately $21 million. Staff has reviewed the filing, issued data requests, and reviewed the responses. Staff agrees that these electric transmission line and switching station facilities are needed to provide sufficient capacity and relieve load growth and improve reliability and quality of service in the area of Little Creek and JS, as well as surrounding portions of Walthall, Lincoln, and Pike counties, by providing loop transmission service with circuit breakers to provide system protection for the staff for the region. Staff recommends approval.
Is there any question?
I move we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now, there's no items on the water or telecommunications agenda, so we're going to move on to the administration agenda. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of commission minutes for June 2023 term of the commission.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2 is discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2023 UN 17 Entergy, Mississippi. Mr. Hammonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Entergy Mississippi LLC filed its notice of intent to implement routine changes in rates consistent with the Mississippi Distributed Generation Rule and proposed Solar for Schools rate schedule FS1 on February 14th, 2023, in accordance with the Commission's directives in docket number 2021 AD 19. Integrity Energy Partners and Gulf States Renewable Energy Industries Association, or GISREA, each sought intervention. Those interventions were granted. This filing was suspended by the Commission and comments were invited. Initial comments were filed by all parties on March 30th, 2023. Subsequent reply comments were also filed by Integrity and Entergy on April 11th, 2023. Having carefully reviewed and considered all comments filed in the docket, the order before you finds that Entergy's proposal, FS1 for Solar for Schools, substantially satisfies the guidelines set forth in the Commission's October 4th, 2022 order. However, the order finds that certain revisions are needed before the Solar for Schools tariff may be approved and implemented. Therefore, the order before you is directing a supplemental compliance filing. The nature of those revisions I'll explain. Just refiled comments in this docket as well as in 2023 UN 18, which is the Mississippi Power Company Solar for Schools docket, requesting some revisions to clarify issues regarding contract licensure and the ownership of tax credits associated with the projects. While Entergy did not address those proposed revisions in their comments in the 2023 UN 18 Mississippi Power's proceeding, they did agree to make some of those certain revisions, which the Commission finds are appropriate and should also be incorporated into Entergy's Solar for Schools docket. Specifically, their revision of language concerning licensure requirements to include the developer and/or the developer's contractors, and clarification of provisions regarding REC certification, as described on page 6 of MPC's comments. Accordingly, the order before you again directs them to file a supplemental compliance filing within 30 days. One other provision that is found in this order, the way that Entergy filed their Solar for Schools, in the event a Solar for Schools contractor agreement was terminated, they had it drafted to where the PPA itself would be terminated. The order before you directs Entergy in their compliance filing that in the event a Solar for Schools contract is terminated, that the PPA would not be terminated. Instead, it would revert back to avoided cost, similar to a PURPA qualifying facility. The order before you also kind of provides some clarification. One of those is that any entity seeking to build a solar generating facility will have to seek from the commission a certificate of public convenience and necessity pursuant to 77-311 and 14. A little other clarification. There was some confusion within the written comments as to the nature of the contractual relationships that will be formed via the Solar for Schools program. This order clarifies that the Solar for Schools contract should be executed between the school district and the developer. The PPA, however, is executed between the utility and the developer. And finally, the manner in which generation payments or credits shall be split between the school district and the developer shall be specified in that Solar for Schools agreement. There were some remaining issues raised by GISRI and Integrity related to general contractual matters such as assignments and indemnification, which the parties are free to negotiate amongst themselves. So none of that is changed or implemented into what the utilities will ultimately file. Again, the order before you directs compliance filings, and I can answer any questions y'all have.
Is there any questions?
So, I guess, are we taking both orders up together then?
No, sir.
Okay, separately, because you talked about Entergy's.
Yeah, no,
Issues.
sir. I've got Mississippi Power next.
Okay, all right, so we're done. But I do want to thank everyone for their participation, their contributions, and their feedback in regards to this. This is certainly a matter that's gone on since we have first opened the docket in January 2021 and been through rounds of comments, hearings, rehearings, motions, exceptions, and since April, we have worked hard to go through the matters that the stakeholders have brought forth and challenged the tariffs and responses from the utilities and so on and so forth. And I don't think there's a rabbit we hadn't chased over the last several months to try to identify those issues. And in certain aspects, as explained by Mr. Hammonds there's just, we can't guarantee zero risk for the developers, for anybody who's involved with this. And you can even ask our folks in Mississippi Power and Southern Company what risk means and what gambles take some time and the turns it takes. But I'm very excited about the opportunities for our public school districts, our K through 12 systems, the hundreds of schools that are applicable and eligible to participate in this, and understanding what the sizing opportunities are going to be, the returns on revenues to contribute to expanding academic programs and shoring up other finances at the schools to support economic and introduction to new technologies, energy technology, and hopefully spur additional interest in STEM programs through this measure. With that, that's my comments, unless there's others to be made.
I've just got a question. Mr. Hammonds, in the new revised portion where the developer will come to the commission and get a CPC in, that's under the statute. They will not be considered a public utility, correct?
That's correct.
So as in filings for other things where you've got just pick a solar farm that would have a PPA, where they come in and file, they expressly say they're not a public utility, do not seek to be a public utility, will have no retail customers. Essentially, the developer for a school district would fall into that non-jurisdictional, truthfully only filing just to say we're building something type thing.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to accept the order associated with docket 2023 UN 17.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I am a no vote on that. The ayes have it. Number 3, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2023 UN 18, Mississippi Power Company. Mr. Hammonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mississippi Power Company filed its notice of intent to establish a Solar for Schools rate schedule and proposed Solar for Schools tariff on February 14th, 2023. Integrity Energy Partners and GISRIA each sought intervention and were granted. This filing was suspended by the commission. Initial comments were filed by all parties on March 30th, 2023. Reply comments were filed by Integrity and Mississippi Power Company on April 11th. Similar to the order I just presented, this order directs a supplemental compliance filing, but states that having carefully reviewed and considered all comments filed in the docket, the commission finds that MPC's proposed Solar for Schools rate schedule substantially satisfies the guidelines set forth in the Commission's October 4th, 2022 order in docket 2021 AD 19. However, Commission finds certain revisions are needed. In its reply comments, Mississippi Power Company agreed to implement a number of changes to its Solar for Schools tariff based upon the comments of Integrity and GISRIA. They include the following: revision of language concerning licensure requirements so as to include the developer and/or the developer's contractor, clarification of provisions regarding REC certification, modification of the Solar for Schools documents to adopt the exclusive use of the term interconnection point, and a revision of commercial operation date definitions in its proposed Solar for Schools power purchase agreement, more fully articulated in page 8 of those comments. The order before you, again, directs them to, within 30 days, file a compliance filing incorporating those changes. Similar to the explanation I gave in the previous item, this order does clarify that they'll have to get a certificate of public convenience and necessity, clarification on language about the school district solar developer, the utility, and the Solar for Schools, and the PPAs. So yeah, this is the same as the previous order, and I can answer any questions y'all have.
Any questions?
No questions. Again, just I want to appreciate the stakeholders as well as the utilities for their contributions and understanding and help us work through these matters. And I think we got a stronger program going forward because of your participation. With that, make a motion to accept the order, adopt the order in docket 2023 UN 18.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I am a no vote on that as well. The ayes have it. Motion passed. Number 4, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2022 AD 42, Entergy, Mississippi Order implementing recommendations for independent auditor. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. London Economics International performed the 2022 procurement audit of Entergy, and in its report ultimately made a total of 15 recommendations. Those reports and findings were certified to the legislature in accordance with statute back in March of this year. Thereafter, the public utility staff reviewed the recommendations and addressed those in the written summary and comments that they had filed in March of this year. The commission staff then met with public utility staff and representatives from Entergy to discuss the recommendations. And as a result of that review process, we have prepared an order that proposes the following. 11 of the recommendations should be deferred pending further review and discussion during the 2023 audit, which is also being performed by LEI. So it'll give the chance for the auditors to assess any action that's been taken by the company or any improvements thereon, and then ultimately decide whether or not to continue the recommendation or deem it addressed during this next audit period. 4 of the recommendations, through our discussions, we found do not require additional action at this time, either because Entergy either had taken or implemented adequate steps to address the issues, or because the matters were subject to other constraints, regulatory or factual, that would prevent Entergy from taking meaningful action at this time.
Is there any questions?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, number 5, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2022 AD 43, Mississippi Power Company order implementing recommendations of independent auditor. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to Mississippi Power Company, Bates White performed the 2022 procurement audits and made a total of 5 recommendations. After the audit reports were certified to the legislature in March, the public utility staff reviewed the recommendations and addressed them both in their previously filed written summary and comments, and they addressed them in meetings with commission staff that took place after those summaries were filed. As a result of the meetings that the commission staff held with public utility staff, we have prepared another order proposing the following with respect to the auditor recommendations for Mississippi Power. Number 1, Mississippi Power should develop and file an action plan within the next 30 days discussing the manner in which the company intends to address 2 of the recommendations. 2 additional recommendations do not warrant additional action at this time, but should be deferred pending further review and discussion during the 2023 audits, which are also being performed by Bates White. And 1 recommendation, commission staff and staff agree, should be disregarded at this time because internal staff does not believe that the type of study recommended would yield meaningful or actionable information that's within the company's ability to change at this time, as stated and described in more detail in the order.
there any questions?
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 6, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2018 AD 141, Mississippi Public Service Commission omnibus docket. Commission order requiring stimulus filing of one-time informational reports on extreme weather vulnerability assessments. Mr. Hammonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On June 27th of this year, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission issued an order requiring all transmission providers to file a one-time informational report describing current or planned policies and processes for conducting extreme weather vulnerability assessments. The order before you is simple. It simply requires or directs the utilities in the state of Mississippi to simultaneously file those reports with the commission in this docket.
Any questions?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 7, discussion and possible action regarding proposed order docket number 2018 AD 141, Mississippi Public Service Commission omnibus docket commission order relating to 2023 weather events. Commissioner Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as we all know, over the last month, beginning first week of June, we've seen a series of strong storms move across the state that impacted customers across all utility sectors, all utility service areas. When just focused on any one utility, we saw outages from northeast part of the state, northwest part of the state, always down to south. Hundreds of thousands of customers in total were impacted throughout this. But throughout this time, as we saw particularly the numbers pile up, particularly in the central district, our office received countless, hundreds of calls from customers voicing their frustration, their confusion, and overall just general dissatisfaction with the communication process, the information they were getting, and the restoration procedures of which they become accustomed to and were just not being clearly communicated throughout that time frame. This is no way an indication of my dissatisfaction with the workers who are on the ground, the guys wearing the hard hats and the boots, the buckets in the air, putting in 16-hour days for multiple days straight to do what they can to get the power back on. This is in no way a criticism of our linemen, our line workers who are dedicated and trained and hardcore professionals in what they do. But that being said, there are questions that continue to linger in our office, myself, in trying to understand exactly what are the issues that were out there that led to the large number of outages, the time frame in which some of the outages occur, and the overall lack of communication to customers for in some cases, days at a time, as they were trying to understand exactly what is going on out in the countryside and when their issues were going to be addressed. And so with this, worked with staff, commission staff, to draft an order to initiate a review, an investigation, whatever you want to call it, to fully understand what began in the time frame around the June 8th, 9th, 10th time frame, the issues where we first saw these storms come into the state, and were we prepared? Were we viewing and understanding what was going on in other parts of the U.S. as we saw these fronts here? Did Entergy, in this case, is who this review is directed at, taking the proper actions to anticipate such an event, multiple events, and bringing the crews and other individuals as necessary in preparation of what turned out to be a long haul for everybody. So we're going to ask for certain information, like a detailed accounting of the numbers, the outages sustained, and the typical causes of those. The efforts undertaken by the company communicate with customers before, during, and after the event. What led to these frustrations of customers and where communication suffered? An explanation of the outage map and understanding that it had to go down for a while because it was being overloaded and restoration times were not being addressed, and that led to additional confusion. We also want understanding of how advanced metering infrastructure plays into the performance of the outage map and communication to customers. And I know I know that the AMI was done, the great agreed to in the term before this one. But it has certainly been a large component of the overall information network and how customers and how Entergy derives information regarding performance, customer usage, as well as signifying outages on the system. So from November, I believe it was November 2016, Haley Fazakli, CEO of Entergy, quoted in his testimony, a key benefit of AMI is that it will allow Entergy to more accurately identify outage locations, which will allow quicker and more accurate detection of service problems, improved outage and restoration communication with customers, and overall faster outage restoration. I have a couple examples I'm going to share in just a minute that in my view, questions and calls into question the ability of AMI and other internal procedures and processes to really perform what was stated there. And I'll just go with them right now, if that's all right. One of those is an instance that just happened this 2 weeks ago, an issue of several homes in Madison County. Multiple homeowners were contacting our office. They were undergoing outage, and they were calling the Entergy Service Center multiple times, and the Entergy Service Center was indicating to them, we see no outage on the system in regards to your home address. Go check your breakers. You know, after the fourth time of hearing, go check your breakers, the level of frustration with the customers was rather severe. You know, if AMI is supposed to understand where outages occur on the system, the service center folks never saw it. And it took calls from our office to our CSS group, to the local service center, to understand there was an outage at that location. Just this past weekend in Hinds County, 19 homes lost power at approximately 12:30 a.m. Friday night, Saturday morning, because crews had timed out on Friday. There were no linemen available in the Jackson, Rankin, Madison, or Clinton Service Center to attend to that outage. 16 hours later, a serviceman from Simpson County came up to address the issue. Once he rolled on site, he was there for less than 30 minutes and restored power to these 19 homes in Jackson. You know, it's just hard for me to believe there's not a dedicated lineman somewhere out there willing to answer the call to restore power to his fellow man. Is that the case, or was there a breakdown in communication somewhere in the system there? Because I know these folks called multiple times, as well as I did. And still to this minute, I still don't know the answer of why the outage was caused. And we know there's always been longstanding challenges in regards to the communications amongst certain divisions. And just this morning, minutes before I walked up here, my phone rang. It was a number I did not recognize, but I decided to answer it anyway because it was within the Central District. Miss Jean Baxley called. She's over at in just south of Edwards. She is now experiencing her fourth outage this month. The power went out at 3:45 a.m. It says on the restoration time it's going to come back on at 7 a.m. And as I look at her location, it still says estimated restoration time 7 a.m. And here we are, what time is it? 10:35. Still have not got an answer on what the problem is, what the issue is. Miss Baxley and her husband are in their 80s. They lost over $600 in groceries and medicine this month alone. Spent a lot in fuel to try to maintain certain systems. And she was absolutely in tears when she called this office. And it's not the first time she's called this office, I understand that, but she was absolutely in tears, frustrated, wanting somebody to help her. She has tried to call the outage center, got no response, finally got one. They have no answer for her as far as the status with that. And that's just some of and that's just pure coincidence. Miss Baxley called as I was walking out of the office to come down here this morning. But it's certainly reflective of just a small sample of some of the things we hear. And those are the ones that I receive personal calls from personally. So what goes on in the countryside that I'm not aware of, that does not come to me personally? With that, we're going to ask Entergy, as I mentioned, several things they're going to report on, but how can they better prepare for severe weather and other events and other threats that are lingering out there, not just severe weather? We talk about physical threats, cybersecurity, other aspects in the line. So how are we going to make sure we have adequate and appropriate manpower to restore these services in a timely manner? Some of them I just spoke about. And how can Entergy better communicate with its customers going forward? Giving them a better understanding of when they can reasonably expect to have power restored. I know systems, there's human error, there's technological glitches. I understand that, and that just happens. But when we put a product out there and people eventually over time come to trust it, they have to continue to have that trust and confidence in their utility. And as regulators, we got to have confidence in utility. I know some folks want us to have a pound of flesh taken out of Entergy over this matter. Some want it more. But at the same time, that may not be the constructive way to go about, because we also got to work with our utility partners to ensure that their programs are delivered, whether it's distributed generation, energy efficiency, and other customer service programs to help reduce costs and improve affordability and reliability in those systems. After all, Entergy is a billions of dollars in assets and a government-protected monopoly. But at the same time, we have to do our job as regulators to ensure customers' voices are being heard. And we also want to know what Entergy can do and better invest in its distribution system. We just heard in the prior docket, the reporting of what you're going to do to reduce vulnerabilities and mitigate challenges on your transmission system. We also got to take a hard look at what to do on our distribution system. And does that include better vegetation management, strategic undergrounding, or storm hardening measures? What investments are needed to reduce the frequency and duration of outages across the state, particularly in the Central District? So, and we're also going to allow, as we hear from customers, an opportunity for folks to provide feedback. There's a lot of built-up frustration over the last month, and we want to provide that information to Entergy specifically, and we want to hear what customers experienced over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to open that opportunity up as well. So I'll hold off making any other motions unless my colleagues have any comments.
I got one. And maybe this is best for somebody on the staff. But as part of the formulaic rate plan and setting the band that we all talk about so much, reliability is a calculation into that, correct?
Yes, sir.
How do I get where Commissioner Bailey's coming from. I think we all are, common sense, reasonable people that understand there are things that happen that are uncontrollable, storms and the like. But I've sat up here for 16 years or 15. I'm a short timer. And we've approved everything from AMI to technology after technology after technology, millions of dollars of investment. And yet, the examples he just gave are good. So, there's an old saying, if you want to get somebody's attention, get their wallet. So how going forward, as we grade reliability, you can't it's not Entergy's fault that a storm came in, but this type of customer service obviously is subpar. So how do these type of reports factor into, and Mr. Mabry, I'm not trying to put you on on the hot seat about this. I guess I'm just having making a general statement here, that somehow these type of incidents figure into those type of calculations, because on one hand, you've got millions of dollars of investment being done in which they're earning a return on. So they're making profits off of investments in things that are supposed to help these types of situations be corrected quicker and be less impactful to customers. That's on one side. On the other side, as we recalculate their band on return on investment each year in their formulaic rate plan, which to those of you out that don't know, that's the big enchilada that comes in related to what they earn as their general ROI. I haven't seen one yet that comes back and takes these type of reports into consideration. So how do we, I'm not interested, I'm going to vote with Commissioner Bailey on this, but how do we make that something that actually gets somebody's attention rather than just a report on another report? I mean, if the company had to pay a financial penalty in their return on investment because their reliability did not meet standards, then this would be a whole different thing. I mean, to think that somebody's been sitting there since 3 o'clock this morning and it shows 7 o'clock, and then it's 10:30 and it still shows 7 o'clock. Why did we, obviously what we spent all this money investing in is not working. So how do we, Mr. Hammond, you may answer this. How do you take this report and take these incidents and have the company either take a hit on return on investment or review the assets that are going into the rate base related to this? How do we deal with that? Because reports are wonderful if anybody reads them. But I can bet you that if the return on investment for Entergy took a kick in the teeth because of incidents like this, we'd have this room filled up with everybody figuring out how to fix it. So how do we fix that?
Just to what you mentioned, obviously there's a performance adjustment, 40% reliability, 40% affordability, which gauges their rates against similarly situated utilities in the CRUC footprint, and then 20% customer service. I think the broad answer to the question you're asking is that 40-40-20 still prudent for Entergy Mississippi, right? That would be the question.
Well, I've hated formulaic rates since the day I walked in this building, okay? I ain't never liked it. But the truth is, on the 20% customer satisfaction, I mean, we changed that the first couple of years I was here to get it to where there was an independent picking of the entity that checks that. But, how do you factor in these type of incidents either into the 40% on reliability or into the 20% on customer effectiveness? This is not just an Entergy problem. Look, I've got Holly Springs in my district, of which we have no jurisdiction, although I've searched in every nook and cranny to try to find some. But I mean, this seems to be something that's pretty elementary, especially with egregious examples like this. So how do we need to open that back up as far as how that calculation's done?
I think it would be worth discussing. I'm not sure. I'm not as aware as the vehicle or the mechanism to do that, but I do think that is where you're getting at. Is obviously their SAIDI and safety numbers are not looking great from these storms.
Yeah, and what happens on these things is you got 20% set by customer satisfaction. Okay? Nobody's calling those customers right now. You can bet on that. Nobody's calling them right now to set that 20% factor. And so if you don't have an incident come up around the time of the third party doing the evaluation on customer satisfaction, you're not going to get a true picture. You're just not going to get it. And so there are moments in time in which customers are extremely dissatisfied that don't factor into how they earn that money on customer satisfaction. And so, I've long been an advocate for a number of complaints to the commission to factor into the 20%. I ain't never been to, understand why we haven't been able to get that in there. I'm just making the point that these reports are good, they're wonderful, but they're not going to get anybody's attention until somebody starts feeling some money slip out on their return on investment because these type of incidents happen. And if that were the case, I think we'd have a whole different response, because we're just going to get patted on the head, get a little report, and next time we'll just say we'll do better. If they knew that they were going to take a hit in the wallet, we'd have a different response.
Are there any
End of sermon.
Are there any further questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to adopt the order presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 8, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2017 UA 079, Southern Cross Transmission LLC, order inviting comments on Southern Spirit Transmission LLC. Motion for scheduling order, Mr. Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Southern Spirit Transmission LLC, they filed a supplemental petition for a certificate of public convenience and necessity on February 14th, 2023. On July 6th, 2023, they filed a motion for a scheduling order and provided a proposed scheduling order for the Commission's consideration. The order before you invites comments from parties of record to submit feedback to the Commission on that proposed scheduling order no later than Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. So the order is just seeking comments from the other parties on the proposed scheduling order.
Do I have any questions?
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 9, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed order in docket number 2017 UA 079, Southern Cross Transmission LLC, order granting intervention. Mr. Hammond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On June 30th, 2023, B Lake Farm LLC filed a motion to intervene in this proceeding. On July 7th, petitioner Southern Spirit Transmission filed its response in opposition of that motion to intervene, citing the untimeliness. The order before you grants that intervention, subject to the provisions of Commission Rule 121.5, which stated plainly says that when you're granted intervention late, you have to take the docket where it is so as to not prejudice any of the parties. Obviously, this order granting intervention will make them a party, give them an opportunity to comment on that proposed scheduling order that the commission just approved. So just a simple order granting intervention.
Okay. Any questions?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 10, discussion and possible action regarding rescheduling of the August 2023 open meeting to August 17th. Ms. Collier.
I've confirmed with each of your offices your availability for that day, so if you wanted to make a motion.
Yeah, I make a motion that we do it.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. There's no further business.
I got one just real quick. We just have, want to introduce Miss Erin Goodman. She is new admin in our office in the Central District, so everybody please make her welcome. And if you come to our office, say hello to her. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further business, we stand adjourned.